The real reason you're not losing belly fat, and it's not because you're eating too many carbohydrates, it's not because of stress, and it's not because of hormones. It's because you're not consistently in a calorie deficit. Things like age and hormones and stuff, yes, they play a part in your metabolism and your body's ability to lose fats, but it's your lifestyle choices and decisions primarily which are blocking the calorie deficit. And also, it's because you're not sending the right signal. You're not getting your body to burn more calories by itself, which I'm going to get to. So let's get into underestimating calories. I talked about this on the last episode. And by the way, it turns out not all calories are treated equally. Food quality makes a massive difference. We've talked about, obviously, whole foods keep you more satiated. So if you're eating mainly single ingredient foods and you're avoiding ultra processed foods, it's going to keep you more satiated. So you're going to eat less calories and therefore you can shift the belly fat. But actually did a recent study, someone eating a sandwich, which is a whole food sandwich, someone else eating a processed, ultra processed food sandwich. I'm not going to go into the details. You can look it up though, right, on ChatGPT. And the person eating the processed food sandwich, their body burned 50% less of the calories consumed from the sandwich. So it's not just calories. The quality of the food actually makes a big difference to the calories that your body's actually holding on to versus burning, which is big, right? But the big rocks are definitely calories. So if you're underestimating calories, you're saying that you eat healthy, you're saying that you eat, I eat about 1,200 calories. Are you meticulously tracking everything and weighing everything? Probably not. Most people are not. Not saying you necessarily have to do that, but like I said on the last episode, I'm not going to go too deep into this. 50% of people underestimate the calories they're eating. I've coached hundreds of people, and this is a common trend. People say they're eating healthy. They say they're eating a certain amount of calories. They say they're having a certain amount of protein. When we shine a light on things, there's basically things missing. They're eating more than they thought, and they're not making the good decisions that they said they were making. Because a lot of times we are full of shit, right, essentially, and also we eat mindlessly. So underestimating calories is huge. Best solution for that is, I'm just going to go back to it because it's a tool which works. Obviously, eat whole foods mainly and just avoid. Try and do 30 days. I don't believe in diets, but the whole 30 is the best approach with diet because you're just going to eat whole foods for 30 days. Might not be the best time now with you guys having Thanksgiving and everything else, but do that and avoid ultra processed foods. You'll eat way less, right? And you'll start shifting the belly fat 110%. Because also in those ultra processed foods, it's the packaging, it's the plastics, it's the chemicals they add to it, which actually does disrupt your hormones, which even if one hormone is off, it can affect your body's ability to lose fat. Therefore, it'll get your body to hold stubborn fat in particular, which is normally around the belly. So underestimating calories, like I said, food quality, and also it's sending the right signal. So with clients, for example, I always look at, we need to get them releasing or at least elevating the fat burning hormones. Let me give you an example. Testosterone, estrogen as well even, right? But mainly testosterone, growth hormone, those two within themselves, they're fat burning hormones. How do we do that? When they're getting stronger, even if we don't do tests, blood tests, when they're getting physically stronger, and where obviously I monitor that week by week and track it all, their metabolism speeds up and they have to increase testosterone. You know, there's a lot of men out there now with low testosterone. That plays a massive part, right? Obviously, if you've got low testosterone, your cortisol is going to be higher, which I'll get to. Cortisol is a fat storing hormone. And what will happen then is they'll basically store more fat. So that's what you get. Guys who have low testosterone, really, if they just went to the gym and lifted weights, a lot of these guys, and did it properly, not too much, they would release more testosterone, and that would solve a lot of the problems. So I say all that to say, testosterone, fat-burning hormone, strength, muscle, send that signal of muscle building. Anabolic signal, right? Get stronger and build muscle, and that'll get your body burning more fat. This happens time and time again with clients. They were overestimating how much they were moving, and in some cases underestimating how much they were eating. You combine those two together, what happens? Calorie deficit normally. Mind-blowing, right? At least for a short period of time. But when people are not moving as much, so they start lifting weights, they send a signal which speeds the metabolism up, so it gets the body to start dropping fat naturally as a byproduct, right? When you monitor the calories, because we're creating a subtle calorie deficit at the same time. And then their body starts losing fat, right? So you need to look at balancing out your hormones, but you do that with simple things without looking into all this, like everything's so complicated nowadays. You need targets to hit, set strength targets, add more weight to the bar slowly but surely, eat high protein, and just stop bullshitting yourself with calories, right? If you're saying that you're eating a certain amount of calories, or you're in a deficit and you're gaining fat or you're not losing fat. You are not in a deficit, right? We just can't argue with that. You're not in a calorie deficit. So underestimating calories is a big one. Cardio versus weights, right? Weight training, like I said, speeds metabolism up, gets the body burning fat. This is the best way to lose stubborn fat, by the way, as well. I get this time and time again with clients within the first 90 days. Even within the first 30 days, they lose fat straight away. So boom, they start lifting weights. They focus just on lifting weights, and they may have been doing some excess cardio before, or just doing cardio that wasn't benefiting fat loss. We cut that out. We focus on movement, potentially moving maybe 2,000 steps more a day, or an extra 15 to 30 minute walk a day. They lift weights. They do that appropriately for their body. They have high protein. Again, that's another thing. Like I said earlier, people overestimate how much protein they're having. And when they do that, then they go, oh, wow, actually, I wasn't hitting the targets I thought I was hitting. And now I'm doing it, and now I'm losing fat. Wow. So you might get into your own head and might be looking at all this stuff online and overcomplicating the thing with belly fat, such as, it's my hormones, it's age, I just got to this certain age, and I just had this belly fat. No, it's not that. It's lifestyle choices. Yes, your metabolism might have been impacted a little bit, right? But this is splitting hairs. It's your decisions. It's the type of training you're doing. Are you recovering properly? And that goes to the growth hormone piece, right? Growth hormone is a fat storing hormone. You release, you secrete the highest amount in your sleep, particularly the first 90 minutes of sleep. I think, if I remember rightly, that's a fat storing hormone. And if you're not getting adequate sleep, you're not having good sleep regularity, you're on your screens, you're working till too late, that's going to impact everything, right? Even one night's poor sleep is going to reduce your body's output of calories. So let's get into the next ones, right? Like I said, low protein equals more hunger, right? People overeat. When they're not having, it's not magical, it's not a magical nutrient. When people don't have enough protein or optimal protein, they overeat calories because the body is always trying to find homeostasis. And what will it do? It'll make you feed it, right? It doesn't want to lose weight. Your body doesn't want to lose mass. It wants to survive. So you have to give it a reason to lose weight and to lose fat. If you're having a low protein, you're going to feel more hungry. You're going to replace the calories that you're not getting through protein with what? Fats and carbs, right? And what are you going to normally do when you're eating fats and carbs? You normally, well, it depends on the quality of the food. If it's ultra processed, you're going to eat more, but you're going to eat more calories, right? So protein is the most satiated macronutrient. Fat is number 2. Carbs is in the last place there, right? In terms of how much they fill you up and keep you satiated. Let's get into the big one, right? Cortisol, stress, and cortisol. Cortisol has been given a bad rep, right? I want to just kind of summarize this real quick. Cortisol is so important. It gets you going. In the morning, your cortisol levels are high. It enables you to stay alive, get stuff done, do high energy tasks. It's a really important hormone. But when it comes to fat loss and losing weight, it is terrible if you've got elevated amounts for prolonged periods, long story short. So the reason why people say, and there is research, there's a lot of clear research now and data on, more so on women with cortisol elevated. Again, elevated cortisol in a day or two is pretty normal, right? But we're living in a day and age now where we've got this technology. We're looking at the screen on the phone. This is a whole nother conversation. I'm not going to get into that rabbit hole. You're looking at that screen all day long. When you look at the screen, more cortisol. You put the phone down, less cortisol, right? Just look at it that way. Very simple. I keep my phone out of my room, in the bedroom, sorry. I don't take it in the bedroom in the nighttime. I have it out here. I've got the alarm in there, so I don't need the phone. Why? Because I don't want cortisol high when I go to bed. And even if you're not looking at your phone, which you will be, right? It's like if you've got loads of snacks in the house. If you're someone who's overweight and you struggle with overeating, you have all your favorite snacks in the house, you're going to eat them at some point. It's kind of likely. Same thing goes for the phone. When that's in the room, you're going to pick it up. You're going to go on it. You're going to look at it in the nighttime. You're going to be scrolling at nighttime. You're going to be checking emails. And even when you're not doing that, research now shows that the subconscious mind is still going to be stimulated. Cognitive stimulation, the worst thing for sleep. So all those things impact a lot of things when it comes to belly fat, right? So anyway, that was a bit of a kind of a long one there, right? But that gives you an example of elevated cortisol, like most people all the time on their screens. It's not really rocket science, right? It's when you look at how people live, just look around you when you walk around the streets or when you're on a bus or when you're in the line somewhere queuing up for something. A lot of you are probably not getting buses nowadays, right? Anyway, look around, people are all on the phones all the time, right? Stress, cortisol, elevated all day. We never had to live like that before when we were hunter-gatherers. We would likely hunt or run away from a tiger, right? We'd have a massive surge of adrenaline, cortisol, norepinephrine, and we would run like hell and either get eaten or survive, right? Nowadays, we've got that constant trickle, continuous cortisol, adrenaline, stress hormones constantly elevated all the time. It's just the day and age we live in. That's why you have to do everything in your power to fight against those external resources. Keep your phone out of the room. Come away from your phone at least, ideally, an hour before bed, minimum, right? Do breath work, okay? Train properly. Don't overtrain, all right? Do exercise regular. That's even more important than that. Get plenty of movement in. All these things drop cortisol and balance out the stress hormones more, right? So you got to find that balance. Like I said, poor sleep is going to be 20 to 30% more cravings. In fact, they did a study. On average, people eat 44% more calories when sleep deprived, right? So that's almost double the amount of food. So it's more the decisions you make with food. Yes, and the fact as well, though, it does slow down your BMR, right? There's loads of research on that now as well. So that's a big one with belly fat. You can forget about losing fat if you're having poor sleep. It's just not going to happen, because even they did a study, right, on people losing weight. And what they found was the sleep deprived group that had under 6 hours, I think they averaged 5.5 hours. The other group averaged 8.5 hours. They lost the same amount of weight over the 12 weeks, I think it was. But the group who had sleep deprived, they lost 0.5 kilos, 50% more. They lost, 50% of the weight that they lost was muscle. So the group who had sleep retained muscle, lost more body fat. The other group lost muscle and stored more fat, just from sleep deprivation alone, right? So that's number one. The other big one, I talked about this in the last episode, right? But people overestimate how much they move, man. I'm telling you, people are sat down all the time. I don't sit down, I'm stood up, right? When you stand up, you burn way more calories. It increases your NEAT, okay? I've got a stand-up desk. I do like 11, 12,000 steps a day. Regular movement, output, 15%, right? There's 30% of your calories. 70% of the calories you burn, let's just say, you burn just to keep the lights on, right? It's your body, your organs, your brain, all that kind of stuff, right? The other 30% is going to be, 15% of that is your activity throughout the daytime. So half of your day calorie burn is the decision of you getting off your ass and moving or not, right? People complicate things too much. I stay really lean all year round because I walk a lot. People say they move a lot, they don't. They sit down all day. Yeah, I do. If I had to guess, I do. They say, if I had to guess, I'll probably do about, I don't know, I reckon about 8,000 steps. All right, that's 4,000. People overestimate. People double the amount that they think they do. Get a wrist piece. You can get a cheap one like a Fitbit or whatever. Definitely not sponsored by them, right? Just for the record. Nothing against them. My client used to call it a shit bit. Anyway, moving on. Get yourself a wrist piece. Track your steps. If you're not doing that, move more. If you do track your steps, even doing 2,000 more steps, more importantly, regular movement, right? Try not to sit down for prolonged periods, right? Bad for longevity, bad for belly fat. Finally, you train hard, right? So the other 15%, like I said on the last episode, 5% of those calories, right? Of that 30%, right? So 30% manual calorie burn, 15% of that is going to be your movement, your activity. Roughly only about 5% is going to be training in the gym. The other, say 5 to 10%, the other 5 to 10% after that is going to be the thermic effect of food. Protein, high protein, that's going to cost your body calories to digest. Also fiber as well has a high thermic effect. So the thermic effect of food. You can train as hard as you want, but if you don't move enough, you're just not going to lose that belly fat, right? Even if you're someone who goes to the gym 5-6 days a week and then you just don't move much, you'd be better off going to the gym 3 days a week and moving more. You're going to burn way more calories. Simple as that, right? So that's the main reason why it stays. Let's just summarize this in a nutshell, right? Underestimating calories, like I said on the last episode. One that I haven't mentioned, this is a big one. Weekend overeating. This is massive. Again, people say, I just don't know why I'm losing weight. I'm eating 1,300 calories. Yeah, in the week you were eating 1,300 calories. What was going on the weekend? Oh, I ate about, I don't know. I didn't really track on the weekend. Or, yeah, I had a few snacks or I had a few meals out. You put yourself into a surplus on the weekend. Let's just stop bullshitting, right? You basically canceled out the whole week of a deficit because you went overboard on the weekend. And then you're literally saying to yourself, I don't know why I'm not losing this belly fat. Can't figure it out. It's age. Got to be cortisol. Got to be this. No. It's decision making for the most part. Like I say, I have compassion. I do coach women. I've coached a lot of women in menopause, for example, right? It's harder. You have to be more nuanced with your approach. But every single time it comes down to the decisions they're making and just not having clarity and targets to hit. They were aiming for the wrong targets. Again, a lot of you listening, right? If you're not losing the belly fat, it might not be through lack of effort, or maybe, right? Maybe lack of discipline in some areas. But it's the approach that you take, the targets that you want to aim to hit, right? Which is why my clients, I'm setting very simple targets. It could be a protein target. It could be steps. Water is another big one as well, right? Another reason why you might be holding on fat is because you're not drinking enough. When you drink more water, your body releases fat. It releases contaminants from the cells, right? You lose fat. But more importantly, way more importantly, is you won't be as hungry, right? When you drink water. Protein, water, fiber. So let's just summarize this. That was a big one I didn't want to skim over. Underestimating calories and the quality of the food that you eat is a big one. Weekend overeating, like I just touched on. Not having optimal amounts of protein or low protein. You're just going to eat more, simple. And even if you don't think you are, you are. Obviously, stress and cortisol is going to give you, you're going to have more cravings when you're stressed as well. That's a big one I didn't touch on. That's huge. It's not that cortisol, converts into fat and makes you, no. There's a little bit of research on that to say elevated cortisol, you have more body fat. But what happens most of the time is people with elevated cortisol, elevated stress, they make poor decisions with food. Either they don't eat enough in the daytime or they're not structured with their food. And then they just eat more on the weekends. And they always, again, the body's trying to find homeostasis. They'll be snacking. They'll be making up for those calories they didn't eat when they skip meals. And boom, they overeat. Or just emotional eating, right? Stressful day at work, had a few snacks, got home, didn't have a meal prepared, had a glass of wine, empty the snack drawer, whatever, right? It's the impact on the decisions, right? When you're stressed, when your cortisol levels are high. That's the main reason why. Poor sleep obviously goes without saying. Like I said, 50% of the calories they lost, 50% of the weight that they lost was muscle, and they lost, and they basically stored more fat, the group that was sleep deprived versus the group that slept over 8 hours. Like I said, movement, that's a big one. Just steps, right? Just move more. Move more. That'll change everything. I'm telling you now. And then obviously just, training the right way as well. So yeah, they're the things that basically fix it. Now, I didn't get into like the specific solutions now. Let me get into this, right? I want to make sure that you get what you need out of this, right? If you're listening to this, you've got the belly fat there. You're like, Matt, what do I do now, right? And I've got all this information, right? Pick one of the things that I've said, one or two. You could pick two things max, right? And look at the thing the lever that you can pull, which is going to get you biggest bang for the buck, right? What's the lever you can pull? If you're someone who doesn't move much, that's a big one because that's just like an easy win and you're going to feel so much better, right? Movement's medicine for the brain. So 7 to 10K steps is like if I give a ballpark number, I'd say at least 7K. What I find for health and everything else and all the high achievers and stuff that I coach and based on their performance and my performance, I do over 10K, but even 7K, what I find is people feel good. And for mobility and everything else and just longevity and then calorie burn, 7K is good to aim for. If you're someone who does like 4 or 5K, shoot for 7K. Just add 2K onto your steps and keep that consistent forever. Factor that into your life until you become a person who just moves more, right? You're just a person who walks after you eat in, right? That's another way to get the things in. In the evening, have your tea, have your dinner, walk. It helps the food digest, balances your blood sugar levels out, really good for you. Extra 2K steps. So move more, right? Very simple. Protein per meal as well, right? It's not just hitting protein, it's having at least 30 to 50 grams every single meal. Again, I am a person, it's the identity thing, right? It's subconscious for me now. Every time I go for food, unless it's my dark chocolate, which that's my little vice, I'll have a bit of dark chocolate, I'm not having protein with that. Every meal I have, it's meat. Or if it's not that, it's going to be the whey protein mixed in with the Greek yogurt. Protein is always first on the top of mind. When you do that and you have at least 30 to 50 grams minimum every single meal, there might be the odd meal you don't, but 90% of the time, you can't go wrong. It's very hard to go wrong. If you're someone who only has 2 meals a day, you do intermittent fasting, you probably need more than that. You probably want to aim for double, right? You probably want to aim for 60 to 80 grams per meal. If you're someone who only has 2 meals a day, right? 1 gram of protein per pound is a simple number to eat. Real whole food meals, right? Just single ingredient foods. Avoid ultra processed foods. They're under on calories as well. That's another thing. If you're tracking ultra processed foods that come out of a packet, they're allowed to be 20 to 30% out by law, right? So that means they're going to be 20 to 30%. They're going to say that it's 20 to 30% less, obviously to sell more product. So you're going to be eating 20% more calories if you're eating those foods as well. Just assume you don't know for sure. Assume that though, because otherwise you're leaving it to the chance. That's another thing with those foods, right? But obviously they're going to keep you satiated whole foods, whereas ultra processed foods they're highly palatable. They're going to make you overeat. Nighttime routine. This is a big one. Have a nighttime routine, right? I wear these blue light blockers, but just for you guys, I didn't want to put you off, right? I didn't want to wear my Elton John glasses to this episode because you'd be looking at the glasses too much. I wouldn't get as many clicks. So you see the lights are on. It's nighttime here. I wear my blue light blocker glasses 3-4 hours before bed. right? And that blocks the blue light, 97% of it, with the orange lens. But it's not as easy as doing that. That's a win, because all you got to do is remember to put them on. Oh, I was meant to get a sponsor actually by a company. I forgot about that. But anyway, you meant just put them on, boom, blocks the blue lights. But you've got to have a practice in place. Cognitive stimulation, no bueno, not before bedtime. So that includes Netflix. Come away from all electronics. You don't have to be perfect with this. Sometimes you want to watch some Netflix and relax. I get it. We do it like on the weekends, right? But we don't take the piss. We have the regularity even on the weekends. We go to bed we no longer than half hour to an hour max. An hour is like, no, half hour later. Like that's the max for us, right? Because social jet lag and sleep irregularity, all those things play a massive part on your hormone profile. And then as a side effect, your decision making with food, which then means more belly fat, right? So nighttime routine, sleep quality, and have, the usual 7 to 8 hours sleep, right? Strength training on average, I'd say 3 to 4 times a week, right? Even if you're someone who's new to strength training, 20 minutes, 3 times per week. That's all you need. Purposeful, right? Good sessions done properly. 20 sessions, 3 times per week. That's an hour a week. That's all it is. That's all you need. If you're someone who's new, if someone who's more advanced, 3 or 4 a week. The more often you can do strength training, the better, but it's got to be appropriate, right? So 3 to 4 times a week is better because you can recover proper and you can get bang for your buck, and it speeds your metabolism up, right? That is how I stay lean. Like, I'm lean all year round. Yes, I move. And I don't think, I'm going to go to the gym because I want to stay lean. No, I love training. I love building muscle more than anything. I love being jacked, right? Any man will tell you, and even women nowadays, right? They want to be strong and muscular. It's great. Who doesn't want to be, right? But as a side effect of you eating to build muscle and focusing on that, getting your movement up, tightening up your calories and your food, and eating good quality food, you will just get leaner and you will look and feel amazing, and you'll lose it around the belly as well, right? But you've got to be realistic as well. You're not going to get shredded and get a 6-pack after listening to this podcast. Slow and steady wins the race, right? So it's got to be a slow, steady thing, and you've got to set targets like I do with clients as well, even with your waist. Measure your waist and stuff. Don't just guess, or at least take photos. Just take photos and measure your waist. Keep it simple and track that every 4 weeks. Weekend sabotage is a big one. Be honest with yourself on the weekends. Not about being perfect. Bank calories up for the weekend. If you're somebody track, even if you don't track, ideally tracking though, if your calories are 2,000, right, it's over the space of a week. So look at it like 14,000 calories over the week. If you're trying, let's say a deficit for you is 1,500, right? 1,500, what's that? 17,500 over the week, is it? Or 10,500? Not very good at math, but whatever that works out over the week, basically that's what you want to look at, right? So one day you might have 2,000. Another day you have 1,000. I wouldn't want to go that low, but you know what I mean. See what I'm doing here, right? Bank them up for the weekend, right? If you're tracking. So then you stay in a deficit and you've been strategic and you bank the calories up. So you've had a few days in the deficit in the week, and then you can stay in a deficit that way, or just make better decisions if you're someone who's not tracking, right? So that's basically it in a nutshell. Again, it's not rocket science, ladies and gents, right? We can go down the whole science route and, hormones and taking supplements, all of the things which can help, but it's splitting hairs. If you're not taking care of these big rocks, sleep, nutrition, movement, the 3 big rocks there, if you're not taking care of those, and strength training, of course, I'd say the 4 big rocks. If you're not dialing those in, right, and you overeat on the weekends, or you're lying to yourself on the nutrition piece or whatever, forget about anything else. Stop trying to cut corners. Nothing else matters. So not hormones, not age. It's just lifestyle and decisions primarily blocking the consistency, which is keeping you out of a calorie deficit and stopping you from losing fat. Genetics play a part, of course. That's another piece that people say, it's my genetics. Yes, plays a part, right? We store fat in different areas. It's decisions, though, for you to lose some of the fat, right? Let's just be honest about this. But look, you've got to know your body's ability to lose fat as well. And that's why I created the metabolic assessment. I'm going to rinse and repeat this because people are coming back to me going, Ma, this has changed my life, this quiz, right? I had someone say that the other day. I was like, wow. Do the metabolic assessment. I'll tell you exactly what's blocking fat loss and exactly what to do for your body type to get the best, fastest, most sustainable results possible, right? It'll give you a metabolic score as well. And it only takes 2 minutes to fill out. It gives you a plan at the end of it as well. It's gold, right? Click the link. That's in the show notes. And if you've been thinking about working with me, then I've got a few, what have I got right now? I've got 2 spaces for the Black Friday offer that I have just put up. And you'll get a month of coaching on me, basically, right? So you'll get the rest of the year on me coaching. If you qualify for that, of course, and if I can definitely help you. And I mean, how could you go wrong with that, right? Bloody hell. Links in the show notes as well, right? The 1-to-1 coaching form. So yeah, just click that to apply and get the metabolic assessment. Oh, one more thing. check out this next video that I've shared here on YouTube, because it's going to go into more depth about how you can not only drop fats, but how you can keep it off in a sustainable way. It's not just about losing the fat. Once you trim down some of the belly fat, how do you keep that off? This next episode here is going to show you exactly how to do that. So go check that out.